The Washington Post is one of a handful of news organizations bringing computer automation into the news process. The goal isn't to replace human journalists, but instead to expand what news organizations can do.
There are really three key parts to automated storytelling. One is looking at the data. You have to be able to understand the data the same way that a human journalist would look through the numbers and try to determine what the story is. That's the first part of automated storytelling. What's best is when there's a clear data source with information that's relatively easy to analyze and understand, or at least can be analyzed and understood numerically, and isn't really dependent on human judgment. Because in essence, you're teaching the machine how to look for the things, just like a more experienced journalist might teach a novice how to look for a story.
Gilbert says the idea is to eliminate some rote work and also to enable the newsroom to cover more.
So if there are only a handful of people who really need to know about a particular event or a thing that's happening, then it might not be worth a human's time, but it could be worth programming the machine to write many really small audience stories that in total have a big audience, but individually wouldn't be worth writing.
One example was during the November elections. Thanks to automation, the Post was able to publish about 500 separate results stories, including one for each House, Senate, and gubernatorial race being decided. The second part of automation involves reformatting digital information into the appropriate form.
You can tell lots of different stories. You could tell a story that looks like a written story that you put on the web or put in a newspaper. You can tell a story in the form of a tweet. We told stories for the Washington Post election bot that were questions you could ask over a messenger app or things you could ask of the Echo. So the length, the style, the kinds of words you tell depend on the platform that you want to output.
A third aspect of automation is tailoring the content of stories, specifically for individual users.
If you read a lot about a particular topic, if you're very up to date on what the president has done most recently, you don't need a lot of background information. You just need to be told what's coming next. So we could personalize a story by subtracting all of the unnecessary pieces. If, on the other hand, this is the first time you're reading about something, or at least the first time we know, we need to tell you where it takes place, who the key actors are, what the background information is, so we can customize that way. But we could also say, depending on the device you're using, the time of day, how long you typically spend in a session, where you are, all of those are ways that we could customize the story. So again, basically, if we can say, here's what the story is most importantly, and then we can say, here's the form the story should take for you. And then we can say, let's customize it depending on some of the environmental factors, then we can tell the perfect story that's highly customized.
Gilbert says the point is to create something unique.
Automated storytelling is not a license to make a bunch of commodity journalism, stories that are identical. If everybody automates the jobs report, that's not particularly helpful to your audience. So one of the things we would like to be able to do is have our journalists say, these are data feeds worth watching. And look for the baseline, and the computer is very good at determining the baseline. And then tell us when something happens that's out of the norm. And when something happens that's out of the norm, then alert us, and we can go send a human to report it. We don't even need to publish a story out of that. We need to figure out why it's not normal. I think tools like that, they really complement human journalists well.
Ultimately, it's all about making the newsroom smarter. For the Futures Lab, this is Ke Xin San.